Raids in New York City. Mayor Adams, you know him, and he had somebody who worked very closely with him who had her home invaded by the FBI, raided. Brianna Suggs, a consultant, close ties to Mayor Adams, didn't have a good experience with our government. And of course, Mr. Adams, the mayor, canceled a series of meetings in Washington after this woman had her home raided by the feds. Not ideal when you are a government official. So here's a story over from the Times. It tells us that agents from the FBI on Thursday went and searched the home of Mayor Eric Adams' chief fundraiser, Chief Brianna Suggs. And it's not just limited to New York. As soon as we're done here, we're going to pop over and ask ourselves what also is happening in another location called Springfield. In this race, the mayoral candidate, Justin Hurst, is also under scrutiny with claims of voter fraud. Like, this is 5 days before the election. So it is rampant. Some might say it's widespread. Wow. Fraud, fraud, fraud everywhere you look. So this woman, Brianna, a campaign consultant who's deeply entwined with efforts to advance the mayor's agenda. And previously, we had covered a case from Connecticut where Judge William Clark ordered a whole new Democratic primary because they were illegally dropping off absentee ballots in drop boxes. We covered that video here as well. So there's this pattern that we're starting to see. Now, according to two people familiar with knowledge of the matter, the raid apparently prompted Mr. Adams. He goes, uh-oh, Brianna got raided by the feds? Are you serious? Cancel everything. Several meetings scheduled for Thursday in Washington to talk with White House officials about the illegal immigration problem. Now, he hurriedly run back to New York to, quote, deal with the matter, says a spokesman for the mayor. So not good. Suggs, who could not be immediately, this is Brianna, reached for comment, is an essential cog in his fundraising machine. He's like, that girl can dono, man. She has a lot of super chats, which has already raised more than $2.5 million for his 2025 re-election campaign. A third person with knowledge of the raid said agents from one of the public corruption squads questioned Ms. Suggs during the search of her home. They said, we are at that location carrying out law enforcement action. Now, Nicholas Biase, a spokesman for the prosecutor in Manhattan, didn't want to comment about it. Mr. Adams, also spokesman for him, denied any knowledge of that, said, I'm not aware of any of that. He added that Brianna was not an employee of City Hall and referred calls to the campaign team. Evan, over at the campaign team, did not immediately respond to multiple calls. Like, ignore. Tell them we're in a meeting. In the past 2 years, Mr. Adams' re-election campaign has paid Suggs nearly $100,000 in fundraising. Her first mayoral campaign paid her more than $50,000. Suggs also is registered as a lobbyist. Ms. Suggs worked as an aide to Mr. Adams when he was Brooklyn Borough president, and Ingrid Lewis Martin, currently the mayor's top advisor, was his deputy. So she is deeply embedded in outside efforts to advance these agendas, and the decision to cancel high-level meetings with senior officials is unusual, right? They say this is an unusual level of urgency. Like, he was going to go meet with the White House. So this isn't just a small thing. The mayor was scheduled to meet with representatives from Congress, Mayor Chicago, Brandon Johnson, a bunch of other people. Adams posted a video of him on board an airplane on X saying this is a huge issue. But then, nope, sorry, canceled. Mayor is returning to New York City to address this matter. Asked whether this is a personal issue or related to City Hall, they just said, look, he's returning to deal with the matter. Isn't that interesting? So they don't want to get into too many details about that relationship, but he was going to fly over to the White House to hang out with some pretty important, powerful people, and he has to return home because, I don't know, somebody that he's close to is getting in trouble by the feds. Now, it's not just this one. You see, here's another candidate. Springfield mayoral candidate Justin Hurst is also addressing voter fraud claims. We've seen a lot of this. Now, they lectured us during the 2020 election that there was no evidence at all. And then once we found a bunch of evidence, they said, what, that evidence wasn't widespread? And we said, well, yeah, it is. It's all over the place. And they said, but it's not widespread enough to change the outcome of the election. And we said, well, that's because nobody's investigating things and all of the courts are dismissing the cases based on standing, and even the Supreme Court wasn't getting involved. And we already saw that the damage had been done by the courts prior to the election taking place by modifying all of the election rules on the pretext of COVID and so on and so forth. We also saw in Michigan that there was an entire investigation of a stand-up facility that was located in a strip mall where they had throngs of people coming in, doing Lord knows what, harvesting ballots and registering votes and all this garbage that was then disbanded. Essentially overnight, the entire investigation was gobbled up by the FBI. They did nothing about it. We also saw another video in Connecticut where a woman was stuffing ballots into ballot drop boxes, even though she worked for the city as a receptionist and was not qualified to do the things. So in addition to Mayor Adams and Connecticut and Michigan, now we've also got Springfield, and this guy, Justin Hurst, is addressing claims of voter fraud. We'll listen to what he says about it, but they say a candidate for Springfield mayor, Justin Hurst, is being accused of voter fraud just 5 days away from the election. And certainly this is all new, right? Like nobody ever did this before, since our last election in 2020 was the most secure ever, right? In affidavits that were obtained by Western Mass News, News, the allegations from Springfield Election Department officials detail what they witnessed this past week during early voting at City Hall. They describe voters being brought into polls and expecting cash after casting their votes. Pay them. Hurst denied the claims that his campaign committed voter fraud. He said, "We're running a clean race. Any accusation that my team paid residents in exchange for their vote is unequivocally false." On Thursday, he also shut down some claims that they paid cash, even though they're just days away from the election next Tuesday. But in affidavits, Springfield election officials told a different story. They said, as of Friday, October 27th, we noticed a marked increase in the number of walk-in voters at City Hall. They're like, where'd all these people come from, man? Periodically, the voters that came in would discuss among themselves about receiving payment. Hey, where are you from? From the East Valley. Oh, yeah, where are you from? I'm from Peoria. Oh, yeah, really? Did you get paid yet? No, not yet. I'm supposed to. You know this works? I voted sticker, and then you come back out and you text the I voted sticker to whomever. They stated that they must take the I voted sticker as proof. So then they got city surveillance footage that was also obtained. Now you can see what appears to be a black SUV bringing people to and from the polls, just ferrying them along. And this all happened during 2020, by the way. They just, looked the other way. They're like, no, we don't care about Mark Zuckerberg's hundreds of millions of dollars. So here is what somebody in her affidavit, Oyola Lopez, referred to. They said this: "We were unable to ascertain from the video footage, we were able to ascertain that many individuals who were dropped off in the black Suburban entered the City Hall, voted, and left in the same vehicles. Now, at one point in the footage, 2 women and 1 man can be seen showing the man in the red, white, and blue shirt something. The man takes out what appears to be a large bundle of cash and peel off a bill and hand it to each person. Here's a hundo. Thanks for your service." In his press conference, Hurst said that he had seen the surveillance footage and admits, yeah, the person in the footage is a volunteer in the campaign. He says, yeah, that person did volunteer, but that gentleman has spent more time in prison than he spent out. But he's a good man, and he's one of the people I'm fighting for. We're running an election that's inclusive. We include people who commit voter fraud openly, nakedly on camera in court at City Hall. We don't give money in exchange for votes, but I don't know how much clearer it can be. So Hurst opponents released a statement. He said, "People have reported this suspicious activity. We referred this to the judges. These are very serious. Voting is a sacred trust, should be treated as such." Well, not anymore, it isn't. They just funnel people in. "This is a legal matter. It should be reported to the authorities." Now, we reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts. They told us they can neither confirm nor deny that there's an ongoing investigation. Stacks of cash being handed out. Here's what they say about it.
Coverage on voter fraud tonight. Claims made against Springfield mayoral candidate Justin Hurst. Good Thursday evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby. What details can you share with us?
Yeah, Chris, Abby, so far we've looked at the sworn statements of 4 Springfield election officials and surveillance video from outside City Hall last weekend as in-person early voting seemed to pick up. Their conclusions point to some voters expecting payments for casting their ballots for Justin Hurst.
On Thursday morning, Springfield mayoral candidate Justin Hurst fighting back against claims that his campaign committed voter fraud last weekend, just days before the municipal elections.
"We don't give money in exchange for votes." I don't know how much clearer I can be.
But Springfield election workers tell a different story. In sworn affidavits and surveillance video obtained by Western Mass News from the city solicitor's office, poll workers at City Hall detail what was observed during the final weekend of early in-person voting in the city. "I observed that approximately 50% of people coming into the election department on Saturday, October 28th, were not registered to vote. For the people who were registering to vote on site that day, I saw a lot of addresses from the homeless shelter on Worthington Street in Springfield.
Homeless.
I saw a scrawny guy in a light blue hoodie bring a lot of Spanish-speaking people into the elections department. He said to the people in Spanish, 'Vote for Hurst and you'll get $10.
$10?
Springfield Elections Commissioner Gladys Oyola Lopez in her statement detailed what she saw after reviewing
I thought it was at least hundos. $10, that's it?
the video from cameras outside City Hall, saying in part, quote, "Many individuals who were dropped off by the black Suburban and black Expedition entered City Hall, voted, and left in the same aforementioned vehicles. 2 women and 1 man can be seen showing the man in the red, white, and blue shirt something. The man then takes out what appears to be a large bundle of cash and peel off a bill and hands it to each person. Her saying he's seen the footage and tells us who that man is.
That gentleman is a volunteer for our campaign.
Hey, there he is right there.
That gentleman has
Here's a 10
volunteered
spot.
on many a campaign.
Hey, go get something nice, okay? Don't spend it all in one place, okay? You can go buy like 1/3 of a pack of milk or a 1/3 of a pack of eggs or something, right? You can't afford anything with that. Go get yourself 1/3 of a turkey sandwich at a nice deli down the street.
That particular gentleman has spent more time in prison than he spent out, but he's a good man.
But Hurst did not address the video showing the exchange of cash, but he did acknowledge his efforts to get voters to the polls.
We dropped people off to go and vote, and when they came out and voted, we brought them home. And we've been doing that the entire election. We do it all the time. We'll continue to do it.
We brushed people to
Mass News
vote.
checked, and there are no state laws banning a campaign giving voters rides to the polls. officials. His opponent and current Mayor Dominic Sarno released a statement saying in part, quote, "These allegations are very serious and upsetting to me. Voting is a sacred trust and should be treated as such. The integrity of our elections must be protected. This is a legal matter which has been reported to the proper authorities by Solicitor Judge Payne. Hurst is standing by his campaign, telling his constituents ahead of the election that his team is running a clean race."
These accusations are not only insulting to our dedicated campaign supporters,
It's on video, dude.
but to all residents who are exercising their constitutional rights to vote against the establishment and alter the course of history.
All right, go get 2 chicken nuggets from the local restaurant from your McDonald's here for the $10 that we just gave you. So absolutely amazing. And he's just said, yeah, we're just going to still keep busing people in. Yeah, don't worry about it, okay? We're going to keep doing it. We're going to go find all the crackheads that we could possibly muster. The only thing that we're not going to do is give him cash on camera anymore, okay? We're just going to take him back and we'll pay him when we drop him off later. So, all right, that's what's happening in America all over the place. We've got mayors getting his ringleader fundraiser bundler, getting her house raided. Connecticut has new mayoral primaries running again. In Springfield, this guy says we're going to continue to bust stuff up. And so 2024, I'm sure, is going to be lit, my friends. We'll continue to cover. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do, and we'll see you on the next one.